What does it really mean to enjoy time, location, and financial freedom? For me, it's the luxury of never having to rush. It is the ability to change plans on a whim and the joy of being fully present for my children. It is the ability to cherish each school event, every fleeting weekday moment, all on my own terms. Welcome to our podcast, proudly brought to you by VPA Australia, our trusted supplement provider since Unity Gym started. As sponsored athletes, we're excited to offer you a special 10% discount on top quality supplements that ship worldwide. Just use our discount code from the description. To avoid international shipping fees, contact VPA and tell them we sent you to get a flat shipping rate. Today's episode is also sponsored by the Flexibility Blueprint. Ever felt lost in the sea of social media fitness advice? The Flexibility Blueprint is your map to progress, designed to help you get laser focused on what matters most for your journey in flexibility and strength. And guess what? It's free. Grab it using the link in the description. If you're starting your flexibility journey, don't miss our 20-minute mobility routine. It's your first step to quick wins in flexibility. For those further along, use our Flexibility Masterclass, featuring advanced techniques like loaded stretching and end range strength for the pancake, front splits, middle splits, and more. Links for both are also in the description. And for the seasoned athletes, avoid the frustration of complex training puzzles with our UMS Tribe membership. It's a different online coaching experience with strength and flexibility combined. Don't forget, we're Amazon affiliates too. You can find all the equipment used in our videos and podcasts at the most competitive prices with our affiliate links in the description. Now let's dive into today's episode.
This is a story of transforming pain into power. It's the path from darkness to mastery. And it's a very, very personal story of mine because my purpose has always been to achieve time, financial, and location freedom. And there is a very specific reason for that. It is because, and some of you will relate to this, some of you won't, but it is because I have suffered or battled depression all my life. And when you battle depression, debilitating depression, not the depression that people complain about when they don't have something go right in their life, when it's a true chemical imbalance in the brain that cannot regulate endorphins and dopamine, there are times when you just can't show up to work. And people that suffer clinical depression most of the time really struggle to hold a job. So this concept of achieving time, location, and financial freedom for me was not a choice. It was a necessity because, you know, I would argue that it would be very difficult for me to have held any other sort of job, you know, because I go through periods of my life where I just need to stay at home and get through the day, just survive that moment. It is very, very difficult to explain. It is not something I find easy talking about. And so it's hard to share in the public domain like this. But, you know, I know a lot of you out there are going to have experienced something similar, and you're probably feeling pretty, you'll be feeling pretty helpless, pretty lonely in those moments. You know, what can you do? And today I want to share, you know, what served me, how I was able to you never beat depression, but you can learn to live with it. You can learn to disassociate from it. You can learn to, I guess, in those moments, in those deep, dark, painful moments, you can learn to acknowledge it, give it space, give it the time it needs to manifest, and then move on and let go, because tomorrow is always another day. And all of that awareness came for me from the books that I read that are behind me and surrounding me in my office here. It didn't come by chance. It came by intentionally understanding that there was something wrong that I needed to learn how to deal with. Otherwise, I wouldn't have survived. And then going all in on leveling up my consciousness, educating myself, you know, because the very first time I was diagnosed with depression and told that I needed to go on antidepressants, I asked my doctor, and it was a family doctor who'd known me since I was about 13 years old, 14 years old. I said, what are these going to do and why are they going to help me? And he looked me in the eye and said, mate, I've got no idea. And we don't really know, because these were designed for something entirely different. The Zoloft medication that he was trying to put me on at the time was designed as a libido suppressant, because apparently some people have such a ridiculously high libido that they struggle to get through life. It's kind of like a scratch they need to itch constantly. And I thought that was hilarious at the time, but it wasn't good enough for me. Being who I am, I wanted to know what the hell I was about to put into my body, and whether there could be possible side effects, and this and that. And he also said something that really stuck with me: there is an enormously high suicide rate for people who take antidepressants. And I now know why that is, because like any drug, your body adapts to it. And when you start off on 50 milligrams and then they put you on 100 milligrams, and eventually you're taking 200 milligrams, and then at some point that stops working, where do you go from there? And people give up at that point, and often take their own life. And so I didn't want to fall into that statistic, and I wanted to figure out how the hell I could I guess, challenge this, fight this battle without solely relying on this exogenous chemical that they were going to start putting into my body. And the reason why we saved this chapter till the end of the Peak Performance Planner is because it's a big pill to chew on. Understanding that what you've learned, everything you've just gone through to this point, getting your vision clear, learning how to set real goals that are going to be reverse engineered, that you're going to have a level of accountability and that you will actually achieve, applying or drilling down on the deeply rooted intrinsic motivator, the why that goal is so important to you, learning how to identify and overcome ego traits that are going to self-sabotage you along the way. All of these different steps along the line, creating a plan of attack and aligning that with your daily schedule and the actions, the rituals, the behaviors, the habits. These things will get you so far. But as we spoke about in the last chapter about anticipating challenges, every challenge that you experience is going to require a different level of consciousness to overcome. Rad, can you remember like just this ladder of every point in our business, we just feel like we hit our stride, and then something new would happen that was something that we'd never dealt with before, that we had no clue how to solve, and just being frustrated constantly, like, oh my God, what is it going to be next that we're going to have to overcome, that we're going to have to achieve?
Well,
We'd
that was
hire a great trainer, we'd train this person, and they were amazing, and then they just decide, no, living in Sydney isn't for me, I'm going to move, or
it was never that was never ending, that process. It happened every 3 to 6 months, when we just felt like we were getting our stride, and then a new problem that was unforeseen before presented itself to us, and we had no idea how to solve it, and we had to figure it out. It was a very, very, very painful process, but that's the price you pay for leveling up, for success.
Yeah.
There's only, there's a debt that I love the way Alex Hormozi talks about this, and it might not be specifically about this topic, but it's similar. But he says, if you're making $50,000 a year, then you're paying a debt of $950,000 every year for not knowing how to make $1 million a year.
Yeah,
every year you're in debt $950,000 if that's your goal. And I thought that was really interesting, because that's the cost of learning how to make $1 million is $950,000 a year. It is. And the same thing can be related to health and fitness. You have all of these, you just seem to get like, if you're somebody that's serious about training, and if you've ever wanted to get really strong or get really flexible, and maybe even to lose fat, because I remember we had a lot of people, or AKA lose weight, when we used to do weight loss. We don't specialize in weight loss anymore, but people would be in tears because they'd plateaued. They'd hit a certain level of weight loss where they got a really good result initially, but no matter what they do now, they can't get any further. And it's because if you have 50 pounds to lose, and look, you know what, I'm gonna talk about it more for our audience, for people that want to get flexible. So people that want to learn how to do the middle splits And when you first start, you can open your legs to here, and you do all this work and you learn how to be able to open your legs from there. But no matter how hard you work, you cannot go any further, because that was me, and it might have been a little bit further. But I got to this point where I just could not get past it. And it's because what got you from here to here isn't enough to get you from there to there. And it's exactly the same thing with if you start weightlifting and you can barely, deadlift the barbell, and shortly after, however long, 3-6 months later, you can deadlift your own body weight. But every time you try and go more than that, you hurt your back. It's because what got you to being able to deadlift your own body weight, in all honesty, it just requires turning up, and you don't really have to know anything about periodization. You can lift with sloppy technique, but to get from your own body weight to 150% your own body weight, it's not the same thing that got you to your own body weight. It's something new that you don't yet know. And so, this idea of like, you pay for ignorance. You really do. You pay for it, and it's a cost. It depends on it. Everybody has different values, right? So the values that you place on whatever it is that you want, that determines the cost. So the cost for your ignorance might not be as much as the cost for my ignorance, and vice versa, because everybody has different values. Like Yanni doesn't have the same values as I do around movement skills. Yanni works out for different reasons than I do. So the cost of him not achieving a handstand isn't the same as the cost of me not achieving a handstand, because for Yanni it's a fun thing to be able to play around with, but if he doesn't master it and get to that elite level, it's not a big cost to him. For me it is. I want to be able to do handstand push-ups, and if I can't do handstands, then I'll never be able to do a handstand push-up. And so that's a
Look, the big turning point for me was when I was mentored by someone who basically said, "You're going to you don't know what you don't know, and what you don't know is killing your business and your finances." And so he said, "I'm going to give you the equivalent of 2 university degrees through the books that I recommend you read, and you're going to need to read a book every month, or you're out. I don't want you in my group, in my mastermind, And I was like, oh my God, I was like 30 years old and I'd never read a book cover to cover in my entire life. I was just completely uncomfortable with the concept. And one of his subordinates, one of the guys that worked for his company, pulled me aside and said, "Don't stress, mate. There's other ways that you can consume literature." And at the time, Audible had just launched through Amazon. And he said, "I use Audible, and I find that really, really easy to do. You can just put the book in your ears, do it when you're walking, do it when you're on the toilet in the morning, when you're getting ready, whatever, and you'll get through the book a month." And the whole group of us read the same book every month, and then we discussed it. It was always on personal development or business or finance or something like that. And it was the recommendations of our mentor. And I just started setting myself a goal of just reading 10 pages a day, the equivalent of, I was listening at the time. And it was remarkable how quickly I realized that I was actually reading books. And I got to a point where I was reading 50 pages a day and actually physically reading the damn book. It was the biggest transformation. And it was in those books that I found the answers to the challenges that were at every stage. And I really feel for Rad and Richard at this point in our business, because I used to come back every month and go, "You guys have to read this book too," because I just can't relay the message well enough to you guys, and you guys were just like, "What? I don't want to read this book." And the first book I got you guys to read was Extreme Ownership, because I thought, oh, you'll resonate with that, from Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, and you guys both loved that book and got a lot out of it. And I was like, great, this is opening the door. And then we all signed up to Audible and just started absolutely punishing books, And so this is the last lesson in the Peak Potential Planner. It is to adopt a growth mindset and be open to learning more, be receptive to the concept that what you don't know is costing you, and you probably don't even, you're probably even are unaware of the true cost of this, you know. And it's interesting because a couple of years ago, I had a car ride with a very close friend of mine who I've known since high school. He used to be one of my best friends, and we don't see each other as much anymore, but we do catch up a few times a year. And three of us were in the same car together, driving. I can't remember. We may have been coming back from a camping trip or something like that. And, you know, I was probing how everyone's marriages were. This was when I was still with the mother of my children. And, you know, these two guys were married. And, the one friend of mine was having real marital issues. And my other friend and I could see 100% that he was just making it out like all of the problems were his wife. His wife was just the meaning for all of his unhappiness, and it's just a nightmare and this and that. And we were just trying to gently nudge him in the right direction, that he was being really close-minded and he needed to level up. He needed to level up his communication skills. He needed to level up his relationship skills. And we were recommending books for him to read, and he was like, you know, stuff that I don't need to level up. It's her problem. It's her fault. And this and that. And we were like, wow, like you need to. And anyway, a few years later, we reconnected again, and I asked him, and his marriage is brilliant. He's completely leveled up. And guess what happened? He finally, after probably a year of pain, decided to pick up a couple of the books that we'd recommended, read them, and he realized that all of the problems were him. His inability to be open-minded, his inability to be open to her perspective on life. And of course, he wasn't the reason why his marriage wasn't perfect, but it always is you. It starts with you. You are the reason why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. And only you can change it. You know, you cannot rely on other people to change it. And so, you know, yeah, in the Peak Potential Planner, what we've done is Rad and I sat down and we sort of thought, well, what are the 10 best personal development books, and what are the 10 best um, uh, mindset books? You know, because I know a lot of people who, you know, wanted to go through this program inside our tribe. They also feel like they would benefit from knowing the books some of the books that I've read on psychology that have helped me with my mindset, and overcoming, or at least being able to live with and manage my depression and anxiety. And it's something that is a real issue in society nowadays. And so we've included that. So what we've done is we've created, and I'm hoping that Rad synchronizes bringing it up on the screen and showing you, but we have actually put together our books, our top reading list for both personal development and for mindset. And each of these is a direct link to Amazon to be able to purchase the book at the best price. I went shopping and looked for it to find it for you guys. And we've tried to make it as easy as possible for you. And this is a part of the Peak Potential Planner. It's a bonus at the very end of it. But what we've decided to do, because we're having good engagement on these podcasts, we're publishing these as we go, we've decided to create a version of this for you guys. So all you're going to have to do is click a link, throw your email address in, and I'll send this PDF to you, which is basically the shopping list of the 20 books that we recommend. And we've even added a bonus book for each category for personal development and for mindset mastery. So there's actually 22 recommendations there. Now, it sounds like a lot, but if you apply yourself and adopt this 10 pages a day rule that we teach in the Peak Potential Planner, you'll get through this list in 2 years, and it'll be a uni degree in 2 years that you achieve. You know, I really mean that. The lessons and the level up, and you know, you may have actually read a couple of them already. So yeah, we'll make sure that there's a link in the description. If you've made it this far, this is our gift to you, saying congratulations. This has been an enormous journey to get through all of these podcasts. I hope that you're applying some of this, and I hope for some of you, when the time's right and you're ready, that you join and come into our tribe and go through this with us. You know, there's a whole workshop that goes with the Peak Potential Planner, which is really just me sharing how to go through each of the exercises and lessons how I did it, and how it applied, and how it may apply to your goal. And then, of course, you have the ability to, in the community forum, ask us questions and get answers. It's a really, really powerful exercise. It's a very powerful program, and it's something that I encourage people to do every year. And revisit every year. I revisit it every year, and I redo my planning, and I redo my goals, and all of that sort of thing. And yeah, it's something that I think will change lives, if you're ready for it, when you're ready for it. So with that actually brings us to the end. We spoke at the start about what financial time and location freedom means for Rad and I. And one of the most important things for Rad is that it is the ability to take off in about 5 minutes time to go
To
and
pick up my
spend the
son
afternoon
from
with his
school.
son from school.
Yeah, we used to be able to do that when we owned the gym. So I'm going to go and
Yeah.
pick up my son now. So thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. If you haven't done so yet, come grab that list for the books that Yanni talked about. The link is in the description here, and come and join us in the UMS Tribe membership. Come get coached by us, get access to the Peak Potential Planner, get your custom programs written for you for strength and flexibility. You'll be working directly with myself and Yanni and our team of coaches, and it's going to change your life. It really will.
At the moment, an annual membership for 2024 to make 2024 your best year ever and make that commitment is $299, which is
$24
ridiculous. I'm about to take my kids on the Disney cruise in January, and that's what it costs for a massage on the Disney cruise.
Yeah,
for an
right.
hour long. Get this though, shows the supply and demand economics in play here. A massage is $300 for an hour, and an hour-long personal training session in the health club is $25. I couldn't believe that. I was like, wow, they must have zero goose egg demand for personal training on the boat, but they've got a big demand for massages. And a couple's massage is $600 and something to have the two of you get a massage at the same time, and your partner. So yeah, I was quite surprised. Personal training on the boat is worth $25 an hour. Anyway,
there you go.
Make that commitment. It's at the moment, at the point of recording this, it's only $299 to pay for the year in advance, and it's a bit more if you do a 28-day renewal. But yeah, I think you guys, if you're ready for it, it'll be an enormous year of growth.
Get on it,
We'll
and
be
we'll see
ready
you
to
soon.
welcome you inside.
Have a good one, team.